Hey, welcome to the Backwoods Gourmet. Today we're going to show you how to make our competition ribs start to finish. So y'all stay tuned. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to make our injection. And yes, we do inject ribs, and we do it with Butcher's Barbecue pork injection. Very few people do injections on ribs. We're going to follow the label directions. It says 3 scoops of this to 2 cups of water. We're going to use 1, because it's not going to take a lot of it. We're going to actually use about 1.5 scoops of the powder in the. This is great stuff. We use it all the time in competition. And instead of water, we're going to use apricot nectar. You can also use peach nectar. You can find this in the Mexican foods aisle at your grocer. It's kind of carbonated. It's delicious too, just right out of the can. I'm going to go ahead and pour that in our bowl. Almost all of it. About 3/4 of that. And then we're going to need a whisk. And we're going to whisk this together until it's completely smooth. All right, so we have our ribs over here. All I did was take my knife and kind of square them up here. They had this big wild flap of meat there. That's just going to dry out, burn up. So we took that off. And you got your thick end, your thin end. I'm leaving the membrane on for now. And that's going to help contain our injections. So we're going to, and use it, I like to use a little small needle like comes with your Cajun injector for these, because you know the little pockets are pretty small, so a giant one doesn't really help you. I'm going to go right up in between the bones. I'm going to give that some pressure while I'm pulling back. I'm just going to go in between every single bone and fill it up, and I'm going to do that from both sides. All right, so those guys are all injected. I'm going to go ahead and just cover them with a little piece of plastic wrap and tuck them back in the refrigerator. Let them hang out about an hour at least. So now that we're waiting for our ribs to get marinated, I'm going to show you how to make our rub. This is based on Meathead Godwin's Memphis Dust recipe. We made a few little tweaks to it just to kick it up a little bit. I'm going to leave you the complete amounts of each one of these items at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. Let's go ahead and make it from scratch right here. First thing I want to say about this rub recipe, there's absolutely no salt in it. 0 salt. Okay, so you need to salt your meat directly on the meat with this method. All right, and that also, if you're on a low salt diet, this is perfect. Okay, that allows you to control how much salt you're going to put on the meat. So starting out, 1.5 cups of white sugar. The original recipe calls for 3/4 and 3/4 brown to white sugar. I find that it works for me a little better with all white sugar because you don't get so many clumps in it. All right, and we want to use plenty of that molasses flavor at our end, sauces and stuff like that. So into that is 1/2 cup of paprika, 1/4 cup of granulated garlic. And these are all going to be, next items are all 2 tablespoons each. That's ground ginger, onion powder, black pepper, all right, and 2 teaspoons of ground rosemary. It's hard to find ground rosemary in the store. You got to take it and put it in your little spice grinder, coffee grinder, whatever you got, to grind that into a powder. And here's where I kick it up a little bit. That's actually 1 tablespoon of Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. Seems to have a pretty good blend of spices in it that I really like. Then we're just going to combine all that together. I like to use a whisk because it helps to break up the clumps if you got any in your spices. Just mix that well. We'll put it in a shaker and we're ready to roll. And that's enough to do several racks of ribs and pork butts, whatever you're doing with it. That'll last you for a while. Okay, so we took these back out of the fridge. It's been about an hour, hour and a half. I like to use these catfish skinning pliers to get a hold of that membrane, pull that membrane off a lot easier. But if you're doing these competition, definitely get all of it, not just most of it. Try to get every piece of that off of you can. We gave them a little bit, a light sprinkle of coarse kosher sea salt on both sides, because remember the rub has no salt. And that little piece over there, we might as well we'll throw him up in the smoker too. That'll be a little chef snack. So I'm gonna let them sit with the salt on it now about 20 minutes, and then we'll put it on the rub. All right guys, so about 20 minutes. Let's go ahead and uncover them here real quick. I'm letting these come up to room temperature now, by the way, also with the salt on them. We got the bone side up first, and now we're just gonna do I'm going to try to do this so you guys can see. We're going to take the shaker side, and we're looking for like 100% coverage on this rub. We don't want to see any of the meat when you go across here. 100% coverage. When we start on this side, and then you can kind of hold your hand along the edge and sprinkle it, and that'll get your edges. You want all your edges covered real well also. We start on this side because this is not our presentation side, so competition presentation is important, and I think it's important all the time. Let me wipe my hands off. So we're going to do the same thing over on the presentation side. 100% coverage. You don't have to worry about getting too much of this on here, because remember, there is no salt in it. Alright, so dog's decided to bark here. There we go, 100% coverage. Now we're just going to leave it at room temperature. I'm going to lightly put the foil back over it. And let that hang out another, however long it takes you to get your smoker ready. Now it's time to get ready to smoke, get the smoker ready. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get the smoker set up. Now I used to, I used to just fret about, oh, I don't have the right equipment. If I have a better or more expensive smoker, I could do better barbecue. And that's true to a point, okay? But, you go out to a barbecue competition, and guys have got $50,000 worth of smokers on the back of their, $500,000 setup. And a guy like me and my bro roll up with a couple of Weber kettle grills and a Weber Smoky Mountain, and place right up there, third, fourth, fifth place. So I think it's more important to know how to use your equipment than what equipment you have. Today we're going to do it on the homemade big UDS air tank smoker over there. This will work perfectly on your real UDS from a drum, or your Weber Smoky Mountain 22. I don't have the 22, I only have the 14. So it's kind of, it's a size problem there with the long rack of ribs. You have to cut them in half or put them in a rib rack. So the 22, or you can actually do this if you got a little practice, do it on your Weber kettle grill. They're going to turn out awesome. The thing is, you just need to try to hold that temperature between 250 275 for the entire cook time. And if you get with a little practice, you'll be able to do that. All right, so we got the big ugly air tank smoker. We're set up minion method on our charcoal down there. We're using some Kingsford long burning. Let me come down here and get our, this is only about maybe 15 or 20 lit coals right in the center. So that's going to get going. I'm going to go ahead and get our grate on, put the top on, let this big beast come up to temperature. About 45 minutes or so. That's what your ribs should look like. Oh my God. They look almost good enough to eat now. Okay, so when you're putting these on your smoker, again, we're doing a competition style. And you're wanting to maintain your presentation. That's the way I like to put them on the UDS. Okay. That way you don't touch this top rub and beautiful caramelization that's going on there, and they'll turn out perfect. So let's get the lid back on them. That'll be their home for about the next 3 hours. Here we're just looking for color. You know, we want to get this to the color we want. It's not so much time, but it's the color. You know, it's starting to, the bottom looks great. Color looks great. So what we're going to do here is going to go ahead and take them off, and then we're going to wrap them. So don't forget about our Amazon store. I'm going to leave you a link right down in the first comment below. Check that out for a bunch of great outdoor cooking gear at a great price. All right, so I'll show you how we foil the ribs. I got 2 layers of heavy duty aluminum foil here. I like to do that to protect it from the grill. First thing I'm going to do is right in the middle of it, I'm going to put in, this is some of our Seminole Swamp seasoning, and this is the low MSG kind. I'm going to go in with a little bit of butter. Just melted some real butter, not margarine. And then agave nectar. Alright. Give some sweetness to them. Gonna put that down first. Hopefully it won't run everywhere. We'll lay our ribs right on that. Just to make sure that all the sides to get some. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Butter. Seminole Swamp, agave, ready? Now we're going to go ahead and close this up very carefully, and we want to seal and make a nice pouch. I'm going to fold that over on itself, about a 1-inch fold. Take your time with this and get it right so that it doesn't leak. Then you go fold that fold onto itself. It'll be like a 1/2-inch fold. And that'll create a seal. Just like that. Alright, and we'll start back down at this end. We'll flatten it out. Do a fold about 1.5 inches, and then another fold, half of that. Now, before we close it up, we want to add some moisture into it. And here's the rest of that apricot nectar that we didn't use before. I'm going to give it maybe 3-4 tablespoons of that right down in the pouch. We'll flatten this end out. Big fold. Make sure your aluminum foil is plenty long when you start this. And there's that rib tip part. I think we'll just eat on that right now. Okay, time to go back on the smoker till they're tender. Okay, been about 40 minutes. So the way we're going to check them is going to take our trusty Thermopin. We're not looking for temperature, but this is got this point on it that I've been used to feeling meat with, and those center bones, it's like goes in there like butter. So we don't want them to disintegrate. We want them to still be ribs in there, not just bones and pulled pork. So we're gonna go ahead and take them off, let them cool first, just a second, then we're gonna unwrap them. Those look beautiful. So we're gonna get a spatula and we're gonna take them off because we want to preserve this sauce here in the bottom. So I got this big long spatula here just for ribs because it's long enough to get under there, and they're hot, of course. It's long enough to get under there and help support them, I hope. Gonna put those on our platter just like that. We'll reserve this to go in our barbecue sauce. So those ribs look pretty awesome right there, and what we're going to do is flip them over so that we can see where the bones are. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take me a couple center cuts out here, and this is my special rib knife I use. This is a handmade knife. I made it myself. It's actually made from an old Sawzall blade. It's a hardwood handle, and it's super sharp, high carbon steel. I'll give you guys a look at those right there. Look at that juice inside there. That's a lot of that's come from that marinade we did. Beautiful smoke ring. So let's plate them up. So let's make the plate. We just made it. The rain is now upon us. This is a potato and zucchini salad with bacon and fresh green onions from the garden. It's delicious. Okay, so we're going to come in here with a few of our beautiful ribs. Just like that. Do a little garnish right here in the front. A little twist of lime. Just that potato salad has some of that lime in it, and it is super awesome. So let's give them a try. You know, I'm always afraid of overcooking these guys. Really awesome. Just, you know, bite off the bone. When you take a bite, you should leave a bite, especially in your competition. And I like them that way myself too. I don't like them when you like take a bite and the whole thing just falls apart, and then you end up with a, you know, clean bone and a big lump of meat hanging out of your mouth. And I tell you what, they are finger licking good. So whether you're doing a competition or just trying to impress your buddies at home or cooking for your family, try this recipe right here for St. Louis spare ribs. They are really awesome. Hey, thanks for watching the Backwoods Gourmet. If you like what we're doing, please hit that like button right down there. To see another great Backwoods Gourmet episode, it's going to be right up there. And for a whole playlist of barbecue videos, it's going to be right over there. We'll see you next time.